Let's get real here. The world has changed in 100 years in California and in the West Coast. We have, the population of folks that have changed and altered the environment, and that's the reality. And so when we talk about restoration of fisheries and when we talk about the introduction of non-native species, what world are we trying to recreate? Are we going to try to go back 100 years? Because I don't think that's feasible. The Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta system doesn't look anything like it did 100 years ago, to the point that you made, Mr. Dempke, in terms of habitat, when you do have high flows like we've experienced. But let's be clear, a choice has been made to take water away from communities that are in dire need, where we've had a zero water allocation, people I represent, some 4 million people in the San Joaquin Valley, to provide uncertain benefits to species that have been harmed, clearly, for a host of reasons. And we know today we're highlighting the impacts of being eaten by non-native species that humans have introduced going back to 1879 when we brought in striped bass to the Delta. I think it's frankly morally wrong, and it should be drawing the national attention as similar as the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. Einstein once famously said, if you can't explain things simply, you don't understand it well enough. And the impacts of predation on the recovery of listed species is I think, living example of that quote. The fact is that we have a situation here in which, whether it's 20% or whether it's 50%, we're doing nothing about it. To your point, Mr. Grossman, habitat, clearly contaminants, discharges, and export of water and predators are all factors in the decline of these native species. But it's like flying an airplane. We're only using one control to deal with this, and that's the power, i.e. the exports of water. We're ignoring habitat for the most part. We're ignoring contaminants. We're ignoring predators, and we're ignoring the discharges into the system. How can you have any success in dealing with this when we're unwilling to acknowledge the other factors? Mr. Stell, you've indicated that this is a challenge and it is a problem. Why have we, in every major watershed that the Bureau of Reclamation deals with, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, that there is a predator program except in the Central Valley?
Thank you, Congressman Costa. I think the answer to your question is in the Columbia. The target species, the target predators that we are working on, as you've heard, the avian species and the fish species are not managed actively by state and Fish and Wildlife for purposes of commercial or recreational activities.
I'd like you to get back to me on the answer. I've only got a minute 30,
yeah, okay.
and we won't get there. I've offered an amendment that was introduced in Congressman Valdeo's bill of last year, the same language included in the discussion in the draft in Senator Feinstein's bill, that would direct your agency to prepare a plan for the Central Valley to begin initiating a pilot program for predation. Would you support that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so you believe it's necessary as a part of one of the management tools to deal with this issue, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What specific steps has NEMS taken to reduce the predation effects in this species?
We are implementing a pilot program with the Department of Fish and Wildlife to target hotspots, predation hotspots.
Which we saw up here that was on video.
Yes.
Do you believe that a spring and winter run Chinook salmon can be recovered and delisted without addressing predation of non-native black bass and striped bass?
I believe we should address all major limiting factors, including predation.
Of course. Common sense would tell you that. But politically, it's unacceptable. Politically, the thing that we do here is that we blame a certain region of the state and we say you can dry up and blow away, because politically it's not popular to take a certain sports fishing industry and say there's a problem here and we ought to address it. And I'm just frustrated, more than I can tell you, of trying to come together with common sense solutions that deal with all the stress factors. Clearly, export of water is one of them. No one denies that. But when we have waters of the rivers running in these El Nino storms at 50,000 cubic feet per second, and we reduce exports to minus 2,500, something's not correct. Doesn't make any sense. We're saying one part of the region of the state can do without water. We don't say that to fish, while the rest of the state can have water. It's not fair, it's unacceptable. My time's run out, Mr. Chairman, but I will submit the other questions for the record. Thank you.